So Nikyu.
Nikyu.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. It's weird.
When did you start?
It was 6 years pretty recently, at the beginning of September. I think the official, I remember I started, like, it was the first day of school some week, so I just picked an arbitrary day in the first week of September. I think it was like the 4th or 5th or something. Yeah. So it was almost, we were off by like 2 weeks, I think, of my 6-year anniversary for my Nikyu test.
That's right, because we almost thought that, because I tripped up for a second thinking that your test actually almost landed on, it was literally 2 weeks after your anniversary.
Yep, 2 weeks after the anniversary.
Yeah, because you started, how old were you when you started?
12.
12, yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It feels like just yesterday that you were testing for Sunkyu.
It feels like just yesterday, it feels like just yesterday I was promoted to 5th Q. Like, that was 3-4 years ago almost now. This feels like yesterday.
It just goes by super fast.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of cool. The majority, if not all, of your training, there's been some kind of camera running.
Usually, at least, yeah. Because remember, they're back in the racquetball court, it was every class. Every minute of every class.
Got an archive of just like all the classes recorded.
Yep.
And that, were we doing that when you started?
Not when I started, but it wasn't, I don't think it was very long afterwards.
Yeah.
It was definitely a good chunk of what I was doing. I would say those would be classes to look back on.
We're going to have to go back and look.
I told you about, I found the video archives of the katas I did. 2018? Was it, when did I started? Yeah, because I started 2016, so it was probably about 2018. Yep, it was December of 2018, January 2019, I think, were the videos.
Yeah.
Because Google Drive does this great thing where they give you timestamps of when everything was like put in there.
All that metadata.
Yep, so it was like, wow, okay.
And now you have a fresh, clean example of exactly where you're at.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of growth.
Been a lot of change for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's cool watching it now because when you do your kata now, it's your kata.
Yeah.
Before, like, I mean, it's always your kata, right? But
there is, yeah.
But you and I've talked, and like you're specifically doing things that's what match what you're thinking, what you're feeling about those movements.
Yeah,
and
it changed.
Can see it.
Yeah, the way it was 4 years. A lot of the way I viewed it grew. Right, you went from like a 7th Q viewing of what kata is to a 2nd Q viewing of what kata is. Right, it changes.
Yeah,
and it develops
a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, it's cool though. And I was super proud of your demonstration you did the other night. That was an excellent demonstration.
Thank you.
We don't always do it that way where everybody watches, and it was fun, and you held the pressure well. I mean, just having everybody watch you do is always hard, and only getting one chance to go through everything is hard. Like, it's pressure.
And I was not feeling great that night.
No?
I don't know what it was. I just didn't have any energy.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't in it that night, but did it anyway.
Yeah.
Tonight's the night.
Empty hand kata looked good. You know, you were gassed by the Kobudo kata. And then you picked that heavy bow. Yeah,
that wasn't a good move.
Yeah.
I don't know what specifically I thought I was doing there, but
punishing yourself.
No, probably a little bit.
It's the sharp-looking one.
It is. It does look good.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it aesthetically. I was like, white oak is going to show up great on camera.
Yeah.
It just means that everybody gets to watch when you're kind of like...
Exactly. Literally. When it's... Because that bow weighs 10 some pounds.
Yep,
which doesn't sound heavy, but like...
What's funny is it almost had a little bit more of an Okinawan feel to it for me, watching it. Yeah. Because the people that I've trained with who do it more specifically Okinawan Kobudo and not Japanese influenced Kobudo,
right.
It's a lot more natural and it's a lot more fluid and it's not super precise, and maybe the motion's a little more specifically demonstrative of what it's doing rather than just being crisp and clean. So while it lacked maybe some of the energy that I was wanting to see, the motion of it was natural and it felt good. And like I said, it actually feels a little more Okinawan because it has that. They weren't worried about whether or not it was perfect and ended where it started and was clean lines and all this stuff, you know.
You did it.
Yeah, and if you're picturing what you're hitting, then your bow goes where you hit.
Yeah.
And if that's on a nice clean line, then the line's clean. If it's not, then it's not. And Mostly you see it in the transitions, like especially if you watch some of the older stuff of Odo and things like that from our lineage. Like when you see it, like it's the transitions. It's super crisp, super sharp when they hit.
Right.
It's in,
you can see what they're aiming for exactly.
But in between, it doesn't follow some prescribed, clean, perfect path. It just gets there.
It gets where it needs to be.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And to me, that has always made more sense. I appreciate the aesthetic of like a well done, clean kata, but it just needs to work.
Mm-hmm. And there's moments where it's like, there's moments where the movements are important, right? Because there's moments where like when we were talking about one of the students recently that was below me, we did a test and they had done a different like style before, and it was very focused on like the end position where you got.
Right.
Where it's the actual movement. It's the part where your body is like doing the thing that is important.
That's the
so
important
it's like the motion is the important part, not where you end up. I'm less concerned about that as long as I can see what the motion is doing.
All of the
and then bows with like clearing and things, stuff like that.
Force, the energy of like how you got there and why it would be effective. If all of that is erased just to make it look the way it should look.
Right.
Yeah, it's no good. Like you can see it when.
That's not kata.
That's not kata.
No offense. It's like
you probably just upset some people with that idea, but
probably. But it's
there's people turning over in the.
I was about to say they're going to go back on the video.
Disturbance
and
in the force and
all their comments.
But you can see
because kata is the textbook, right?
Yeah, you can see it when you look at your
textbook,
especially your empty hand kata. Like there's no question to me, which is what I wanted to see at Nikyu. Is there's no question to me that every time you moved, it was fueled by what it needed to do.
Right.
And so when it landed sharp or strong, it wasn't because it needed to look sharp and strong. It was because the motion, if I was to do this, that's
that
what
motion
it
is the difference between life or death, right?
Yeah.
In your head.
In your
that
head.
Moment.
That head space.
Right.
Man, head space. Then we did some
Talk
sparring.
about head space. Man, there is nothing more anticlimactic I've ever seen in my life than that sparring video.
Watching the video.
That's so strange.
Yeah, watching sparring experiencing sparring.
Yeah, on top of what we were talking about, another thing that I noticed was sound, how quiet the video was. Sparring feels so loud when you're doing it. Something about just the ruffling of gi, the scrubbing of the fabric, the movement, something about it. You can just, I don't know if you can hear everything, but it feels so loud in your head.
I wonder if that's like...
Maybe that's just because like your attention is directly focused on what you're doing.
Yeah. I was just say, I wonder if that's like...
And it amplifies it, or I don't know.
That survival construct of like everything's important and nothing's important. And receiving everything and everything is so visceral when it's happening. And sparring at Nikyu is visceral.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
It's... downright desperate.
Like, so talk about that. Like, how did you feel? I mean, by the time you and I were sparring, by the time we were getting done, desperate is a good word for it.
Desperate is absolutely a great word for it. Because in the beginning, right, because I had also sparred with Angie before that.
And Cheyenne before that.
And
you did your demonstration of application.
Before that.
And I wanted it to be good demonstration, so you needed to throw hard, you needed to move fast, like, plus it's just tense.
I hadn't felt the fatigue yet at that point.
No.
Because another thing that's weird about sparring is it's very easy to know when your mind is giving out before your body. It's a really weird feeling when your body is giving out before your mind. Because by the end of the sparring, especially near the end, like my mind was still in it, my mind was thinking it was conscious, it was going, it was like we're not done yet, but my body just couldn't do anything. I don't know what it was. It just wouldn't do anything well. It couldn't respond.
Scary.
It's scary. It's very scary.
Yeah. She did it.
I did it.
Yeah. Those are the moments
that's
where
the moment. That's the
you don't love everything about what happens, and it doesn't always go in your favor. I mean, ultimately, I still had the upper hand, but you weren't out of the fight.
No.
And that's important because I should have the upper hand. I was fresh. You were not.
Well, you were fresh, and you've also had a couple, let's say, years on me now at this point. in a lot of different ways.
And all of your years getting to know you.
Right. Exactly. So.
Yeah. And
being not out of the fight was the goal.
Yeah.
Right. And like we discussed, the opening when you were just breathing before we bowed in. Like I knew this was the moment. Maybe third Q might have been the last time you didn't hold back, or the last time you maybe held back. I was like, this is the moment where this is real. He's gonna try and hurt me, and it's gonna be, and I need to stop it, and I'm not gonna let you hurt me. I'm not gonna let you hurt me. It's not gonna happen. And that was to the best of my ability. I tried to not let you hurt me.
Yeah. Yeah, it stood out to me. I could see it in your face. Watching, looking at you, getting ready, breathing, and then I'd look back and you were just locked.
I was ready. I was like
steeled.
I was like, it's fucking go time. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. And then we went.
I was like, it's now or never. And it's never gonna be never. So it's now. Another thing I've always had difficulty with is powering through. Not even specifically pain. Pain's all right, but A, exhaustion, and B, loss of breath. Because there's plenty of times, at least, I can think of at least 2 times during the test where you knocked the wind out of me. But you can't. It's always been hard. I've always, get back up on your feet, try and breathe, but it's hard to actually do something in that time.
Yeah.
It's hard to stay in it.
It feels like forever. You're like, I need to get up. And maybe you get up, like you go watch the video, and I can think of one very specific one where you definitely got the wind knocked out of you.
Yep.
And you were back on it within the sweep.
The sweep where
the foot sweep.
Yep.
Yeah, where it was a pretty flat landing.
Mm-hmm.
You were up pretty quick. Like you watched the video, you were up pretty quick. But when that moment happens and you hit,
it feels like you're on the ground.
You feel like you're scrambling forever. Yeah. Like you're going, oh my God, if I don't do something. And meanwhile, moments, not even moments, have gone by, right. But it feels like it's way too long. Yep. Like you're in danger.
And then all of a sudden, and it's even weirder where it's like all of a sudden you can breathe again, and you're not even thinking about it, right? Because it's so in your mind, it's so, oh my God, I can't breathe, and then it's just gone, and you're fine again. And it's the flip of a switch. It's so weird.
But being able to stay in there and get past that
right.
is such an important deal.
Exactly.
That's why on the mat, I've done it to you for years, like not disengaging is one of the most important things you'll ever figure out.
Yep.
It doesn't really matter if you're the best, the fastest, the strongest, the most knowledgeable. If you disengage, it's over. It only takes a moment for something to be irreversibly that. The thing that I admire that I'm seeing in you that I should, because I'd be upset if I was promoting you to Nikyu and you didn't have it, but I'm seeing it in this, I'm seeing it in Escrima, I'm seeing it in Jiujitsu, which I love seeing because it's not always that you get to see somebody work through 3 different arts at the same time and see growth from one affecting another
Absolutely.
At the same time. And then I get the unique position of being your coach for all of it,
right.
Instead of because I can see that with other people, but I see what their coaches are bringing out of them. Mm-hmm. For you, I get to see how the different instruction brings out. But the thing that I'm admiring that you're doing well, you're doing it well, Angie's doing it well, is that fluidity of change, which I think is one of the most important things, is that if something isn't working, you have to change, and the ability to change, or as the context changes, the ability to fluidly adapt and move to things.
It's definitely a jiu-jitsu skill.
Yeah?
Like, I've definitely learned it from jiu-jitsu.
Interesting.
It probably grew and festered in Escrima and everything else, but it was definitely like the seed was planted from jiu-jitsu for sure.
Yeah, it's very emphasized in jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
And then honestly, I would say that it's emphasized in jiu-jitsu first, Escrima second, and karate third, as far as what it feels like. Like all of them should have it. Mm-hmm. But I feel like as far as my experience with those arts, how much it's in the forefront is right. Jiu-jitsu does it the most.
Right.
Escrima does it the next most. And then karate does it, but especially Andy's karate is very much, I will impose my will on you.
I will do what I
You don't have to be as fluid
right.
if you do it that way, which I was never the size to do it that way. So I'm in the middle, because was trained by a guy who would impose his will, so I impose my will. But I'm also not as big as he is, so I need the ability to impose my will very fluidly. And I see that in you because like you're not even my size, and I'm not very big. So when you work, for you to receive percussive impact, it's devastating, right? Like it's a lot.
Yes.
So your need to be mobile and to be able to move and take any of that off is so critical, especially if you're going to grapple. If you're going to get in where they can hit as hard as they can, you got to be able to adapt.
As much as I like to be at percussive range, I can't be there long because I know as much as I like
trade blows.
As much as I like doing it, I can't trade blows.
Yeah.
Like I'm tough, but I'm not. Again, there's only so much that training can do for me right now.
Well, tough at the wrong time is just stupid.
Yep.
Like it's no longer tough. I could definitely see as you flipped roles and flipped training, as you switched into ground grappling mode versus when you were standing, you had footwork that I wouldn't even give to Escrima. I'd give that more to your time with point fighting and the kickboxing style footwork. Escrima kind of amplifies that, I think.
I would say, because Escrima is where I really developed. I fight more typically, especially when it comes to my footwork. I fight very, not sporadically, but I don't typically have much rhythm to my movement. It's kind of broken, and I twitch weird, and I just kind of move and just kind of keep my body moving, and it comes from it. It started, I think, in point fighting and kind of competition-based fighting, but then it really it became where it is today from Escrima and from studying boxing footwork.
Yeah.
Because when I broke my hand, I started watching a lot of boxing because I couldn't do much else.
Couldn't do much else, so I'm going to study the sport that hits with the hand as much as possible.
Yep, exactly.
The pillow in front of it gives me comfort. I noticed it too, and we ended up talking about it, but you could see it as you started working that way. You could see how that changed.
And that was also a moment where I kind of started trying to define myself too.
Yeah, it's funny how things change when it feels like more is on the line.
Right.
Because you are a very capable thrower. But suddenly you only knew one throw.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's
and
that
you
is
locked
true.
up a lot trying to get to it because Angie won't be thrown. You gotta, and you did throw her, but
once
you get one.
I get one. I threw her once, and then I think I tripped her another time, and that was, I think, about it.
Yeah,
I remember watching the video.
Fights at that intensity with that context, they get ugly.
Yeah.
And so half the time, I remember there was a good one.
Oh, it gets real ugly.
When I started to throw you and failed. I failed that throw. You moved in a way that shut it down. I was not in the right place to do it.
And you just grabbed my leg.
I went down.
Oh, no, yeah, that one. Okay,
Yeah.
because there was two, because there was no one. There was one where I just kind of hopped around you, and you just grabbed my leg and pulled. And I was like, well, shit. I don't think I went down, but I was like, okay.
No, you didn't.
Because I was
not
like,
then, because that was right before the sweep.
Yep.
Because as soon as you shifted to that side and started coming back,
that's when took me down.
That's when the leg sweep came. Because I remember that being like, it felt like a decent setup. And you stopped it, which you should, because we've worked those a lot. And then I went for the leg pick and did not have you. Because I kind of muscled that. And then you came around and then the sweep came or whatever. But no, it was later. It was one of the last things. I mean, it went how...
I remember
but
exactly
it was a good
what you're
example
talking
to
about.
me
it's
how
weird.
fights go.
I remember the feeling of what you're talking about. I don't remember exactly what happened.
Really?
But I remember the feeling of you starting to do something and then all of a sudden you were just weightless. And I was like, all right, boom.
Yeah. It was a weird thing. And then, but that's how it goes, right? Yeah. Like that and some of the stuff that happened with Angie or different things in this sparring it's such a different circumstance. So it just becomes ugly. You go to do something, things just don't work. Or
it's rough when my throws are ippon sayonage, a hip throw, and then the cross buttock throw, and then a taitosh, which are all the same throw.
They're the same throw done
from different leverage points. Yeah. Which is like, well,
that's me too.
And then I've got osotogari, which I love, but I'm just
I can't hit.
I'm not going to get that on you.
Osoto to save my life. Maybe if we were sparring, but in jiu-jitsu I can't hit it to save my life.
Oh. You can probably hit it on me, but you're just very good not letting me get into the place I need to be to do it. Angie is too.
Andy swept a lot.
Yeah, I can believe that.
And so there was...
So that was a big part of your upbringing.
I think I'm probably pretty keyed up on someone getting into sweeping range.
That was
it's not pretty, and it's certainly not like... It's
None
not
of that
clean.
sparring is pretty. No. Not at all.
Yeah, but you did it.
Did it.
Yeah. So, I mean...
It got didded.
Yeah. Now you got first cue to deal with, and then showdown. Yeah, you'll get there.
It's a weird feeling.
That is a weird feeling.
It's a weird feeling.
It's coming up.
It's coming up.
I'm proud of how far you've gone. Like, you went from someone who's kind of into it to someone who can take a lot of knowledge and use it. Like, there are many academic people. I see you exercise what you see and what you do regularly. Like, I wanted to see you apply your art. The sparring, to me, the important part of it is I need to see that your art is there, that you don't devolve into something else, that when it goes live, that you're able to do it. It wasn't a problem. You went straight for it, and your skills came out immediately. But I see it all the time on the mat. We'll work on something, and it's coming out quickly, Yeah. Just don't ever change the fact that you still put the work in.
Yep.
Because you have to. It comes easy for you.
Say if you don't put the work in, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Your challenges are going to be harder than a lot because you're capable of a lot. But you got to put the work in.
I'm also not capable of plenty.
Yeah.
So there's that to keep in mind too.
It's your capacity.
Yeah.
You have a high capacity for the art, and that the gas needs to fit the container.
Yeah.
And you have a larger container than some, so you're going to have challenges that are greater than others. Put the work in, you'll be all right. You rely on that ability. You've got a lot of ability. You rely on that ability, and that goes away.
Yeah.
That goes away.
Not even like fat, not even like in old age, but in like exactly what I was talking about. Like your body just gives out. Like it just does that sometimes. Sometimes you hit your limit. You have your breaking point, and then you can't stop. So you just have to keep like doing, even when you can't do anymore. Can't stop.
Yeah. That's when things get real scary.
Yep.
You did good.
Thank you.